Hi, Psych 484s. How are you guys doing? Today in central Pennsylvania, it's sort of a dreary day, and that might make it a good day to talk about goal setting theory. I don't know about you, but when it's cloudy outside, when it's rainy, I just want to lay in bed and watch Netflix all day. But we all have stuff we need to do, right? We need to work, we need to get our classwork done. So, how do we get motivated? One way we might think to do that is goal setting. So this week we're talking about what are goals and how are they important? And I think this week's topic is really interesting because it's one that we talk about not just in applied psychology research, but we also talk about it in the workplace. Like those articles I sent you earlier in the week, a lot of organizations are interested in goal setting and they rely on it, they use it. I don't know about you, but if you've ever had a performance evaluation, they typically ask you to set goals, right? What would you like to do in the next quarter? Or what would you like to improve upon in the next year or between now and your next evaluation? So I think organizations really have bought in to this idea of goal setting and maybe this idea that goal setting is good and everyone should do it. So again, after you go through the module this week, you'll learn not only what goals are, but you'll learn about what type of goals we should set. That acronym SMART goals will help you remember the types of goals and the goal content that you should include when you're creating goals for yourself or for your employees. But I do think it's interesting to provide you an alternate perspective on goal setting theory. This isn't necessarily representative of my beliefs, but I want to give you a holistic kind of understanding of goal setting in IO psychology. So in 2009, Ordonez et al. Wrote an article in Academy of Management Perspectives called Goals Gone Wild. And the premise of the article is that we have become too gung-ho, too committed to goal-setting theory, and that there are some possible side effects of goal setting that we have not considered and that warrant our attention. So some of the cautions they make in this article are things that can happen, things that can go wrong when we use goal-setting theory inaccurately. So they talk a lot about having goals that are too narrow or having goals, having too many goals, right? What happens when you're trying to simultaneously reach multiple goals and what that does for your motivation. They also talk about implications for work-related behaviors. So it's possible that we are likely to engage in unethical behavior or risk-taking behavior because we're trying to meet our goals. If we didn't have these goals hanging over our head, maybe we'd be less likely to engage in these bad negative behaviors in order to meet them. Basically saying we might feel pressured to act in ways we wouldn't normally act because we have a goal and we want to meet it and we're afraid that we're not going to make it. And I think that has really important implications when we consider some of the financial crises that have happened in recent years in the United States, or when you think about certain organizations that basically do whatever it takes to make money, right? They have those goals in mind, but what happens when those goals become everything to us? So they also talk about some consequences of goal failure. What happens when we fail to meet a goal, and what consequences does this have for us psychologically? It seems like research suggests that when we fail to meet our goals, it can have big implications for our self-efficacy and self-confidence. So we start to lose belief in our own abilities because we missed our goals. And we certainly don't want to have a workforce full of individuals with low self-efficacy. Some other points they talk about why goals are bad. Well, they say that goals inhibit our desire to learn, so we no longer engage in learning. We are no longer self-motivated, so we lose that self-motivation from inside of us, that intrinsic motivation, and instead only can focus on goals themselves. And they also talk about goals creating competition. So when we have a work environment that centers around goals, we become more competitive. And this can have negative consequences for interactions and teamwork and cohesion within the workplace. So that's just the overview of the article itself. Basically, it's a precautionary tale about what can happen when we become too reliant on goal setting theory and perhaps aren't examining some of the consequences associated with it. I'm going to go ahead and post the article for you guys. You can peruse it if you wish. You can also incorporate it into your discussion post this week. Again, it's not required. I just like to provide you with with a full 360 view of goal setting theory and where we're at as a field. And then one last point I'd like to make is I hope as you're going through these lessons and the modules, you're starting to see how some of these theories might build upon one another. So again, there isn't a one-size-fits-all theory of motivation, and I don't think organizations are best served by choosing just one theory of motivation and focusing on that only. Instead, we might need to combine a couple of the theories of motivation in order to create a system that works for a given organization, for a given set of employees. So as you think about your discussion post this week, I'd like you to consider what other theories could goal setting theory work in tandem with? What other theory could be applied in addition to goal setting theory that might make it a stronger package for organizations? So things to think about. And again, I'm interested in your feedback and in your own ideas and opinions. So be sure to read the course modules and use the articles to help base your opinions. But I'd really like to hear your feedback. What do you think? Goals are good, they're needed, they help employees, they help you, or goals are maybe not so good and there's some serious consequences associated with them that we haven't otherwise considered. So that's kind of my 5-minute spiel today. Thank you guys so much. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to reading your responses. Take care. Bye.